So let me ask you this. Do you think your child should ever be able to live essentially a double life without your knowledge? Imagine this, you drop off, I don't know, your daughter, let's say Anne-Marie at school, and unbeknown to you whilst there, she is instead known as a boy called, let's just say, Adam. The teachers having taken it upon themselves not to tell you, the parent. Apparently, no such thing would ever happen, or so we're told. So then can you imagine my surprise when, in a Twitter exchange yesterday about safeguarding, I received this reply from an assistant principal, UK one, I have to say. He admitted that for safeguarding, he would keep the trans identity of a child away from a parent in case, I quote, they try to convert it out of them. In multiple follow-up tweets, he says he stands by his position, but I fear he is not a lone voice when it comes to the people that are teaching our children. Now, this may be a little bit old-fashioned, I grant you that, but in my view, schools are places where kids are taught the basics, your reading, your writing, your maths, and your so on and so forth. So since when then did school leaders start to think that their role includes things like nurturing what gender a child is, especially to the exclusion of the parents? Surely that is, by very definition, of overreach, isn't it? And Rishi Sunak, well, he promised trans guidances to all schools, which could have stopped things like I've just described. But, surprise, surprise, it has not yet been delivered. So I'm going to end by sharing this. It's a clip of a girl called Chloe Cole. She's a very, very brave lady, now aged 19, who, when struggling with puberty, began to think that she was in fact a boy. And so, on a path to surgery and medication, she was placed. Now, I do have to warn you before I play this, it is quite explicit because she now speaks out against what has happened to her.
A huge part of my future womanhood taken from me. I will never be able to breastfeed. I struggle to look at myself in the mirror at times. I still struggle to this day with sexual dysfunction. And I have massive scars across my chest. And the skin grafts that they took of my nipples are weeping fluid today. And they were grafted into a more masculine positioning, they said. After surgery, my grades in school plummeted. Everything that I went through did nothing to address my underlying mental health issues that I had. I didn't need to be lied to. I needed compassion. I needed to be loved. I needed to be given therapy to help me work through my issues, not affirm to my delusion that by transforming into a boy, it would solve all my problems. We need to stop telling 12-year-olds that they were born wrong, that they are right to reject their own bodies and feel uncomfortable with their own skin. We need to stop telling children that puberty is an option, that they can choose what kind of puberty they will go through, just so they can choose what clothes to wear or what music to listen to. Puberty is a rite of passage to adulthood, not a disease to be mitigated.
Hear, hear. Now, if you've got kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, or just kids generally that you care for, I recommend all of you look up that story of Chloe Cole and we let it be a lesson to us all. And to Rishi Sunak and to Gillian Keegan, with your failure to deliver this much-needed and essential trans guidance into schools, you are failing all of us parents and all of our children. Shame on you. I feel so passionately about this subject, Martin, as a mum to a little one, because if my son, when he gets to puberty or whatever, starts to think, oh yeah, I'm not happy with this, or I don't like this, or I, want to put a dress on, or whatever it is, I don't want him to be actively encouraged to believe that he can be a girl and go on to this pathway that I believe can go on to cause him harm. And I don't understand why people, when I say people, I mean those powers that be, why aren't people stepping up, stepping in to prevent some of what is going on in this country on this topic?
I saw that speech by Chloe Cole. It absolutely moved me to tears when I saw it. It really made me weep, and it still really gets me now. And that is because this isn't just a rare event. This is happening in schools the length and breadth of our nation. It's happening in my son's school. And I'm seeing a pattern of people with autism who are going through a phase, who latch onto this thing. Often they discover it for the first time in schools. And they're latching onto it and they're deciding, right, that's it, I'm trans. And then I've seen it in my boys' peer group. Kids just change their mind. I'm not really trans, just a phase. However, during that time, they were nurtured, treated as heroes by their teachers. And as for the notion of this happening in secret without the knowledge of the parents. There's a word for that, and the left hate it, and it's grooming. You're grooming young minds in a dangerous and pervasive way in the secrecy away from parents. Teachers who do that, I think, should be struck off the register, and they should be kicked out of the profession, and schools who allow it should be defunded. I think it's damaging an entire generation. It's dividing communities. It's destroying peer groups. Parents are falling out. It's a dangerous social experiment, and children are not playthings for activist teachers. They should be cherished and protected. And if they're being forced down the route of hormones and surgeries by activist teachers who think they're like evangelical preachers to go out there and put their message into our children's mind, I think they should be kicked out of the system.
Where do you stand on it, Peter?
Well, it's not about left-right. Let's take that out of it. I think that's really tiresome. I think we'd all agree that parents need to know what's going on in their children's lives. And certainly in your Twitter exchange, although I've not studied it all, there would be almost no justification for a school withholding that information, because it's not... a school teacher can provide pastoral support, but it's mum and dad and the GP who are there to provide medical and emotional support.
Well, I asked this teacher, by the way, I'm deliberately not naming him on television. So he's an assistant principal, and I asked him, because he's very resolute, he stands by his beliefs, and I asked him, well, why don't you come on the show and we'll debate this? He's not yet taken me up on that offer. What he says, to be clear, I would take the lead from the child. If they want to tell their parents, I would support them. But if they felt scared to tell their parents, I would not tell their parents. It's whatever is best in the interest of the child as per keeping children safe in education 2023. But I just worry, and my partner goes mad at me. He thinks I get a bit obsessed with this topic, because I fear for children. And this isn't just in schools, by the way, this social media thing, bombarding kids. When you go through your changing from a child to a teen, it is like a little bit overwhelming. Yeah. Things are popping out here, there and everywhere, and hormones all over the place. And you do start to feel discombobulated. And I think if you don't connect naturally to what has been established in this country, rightly or wrongly, as the gender norms, like, I don't know, so girls wear dresses and boys wear trousers and girls makeup and whatever, those kind of things. If you don't connect naturally to one of those boxes, which is fine, by the way, there's a load of girls that are tomboys or whatever, yeah. But just because you don't tick those boxes doesn't mean that, therefore, you should be on this path to hormones, blocking and surgery. And I find it concerning, as Chloe highlights, because ultimately, when you start changing your body, the future ramifications of that can be lifelong, if indeed you then change your mind and realise that you made a mistake.
I think we're just getting this all wrong. You know, rather than identifying confused young people, it's completely normal to be confused as a teenager. Do you remember? Like, we all were confused. And now the confusion around your sexuality, your identity, or your body morphism has been, so you must be trans, and they're being picked out and identified, planting ideas into their minds. And rather than saying you're a confused young person who needs to be changed, how about saying you're a confused person who needs to be loved and spoken to and understood? And let's chat this through before we go down this irreversible route of physical and mental, self-harm. Yeah, that's state-endorsed and funded by the NHS oftentimes. Let's put the brakes on this, and let's instead be mature.
There will be people as well, perhaps watching this, that say, Michelle, your perspective is wrong, or what you're saying is wrong. You don't understand because you're not a trans person, and if you are a trans person, then you know it in your heart of hearts, and it's not for a random adult, whoever that is, to tell you what you are and what you're not. And I'm not denying the existence of trans people, by the way. What I'm saying is that this it seems to be the first point of call when a child is confused. Oh, you must be trans. Let's help you in this journey then, as opposed to it being a last point of call when all the other options of how do we make you happy and what you actually are have been explored. Anyway, look, this is a topic that's not going away anytime soon, but I am fascinated as to what your thoughts on it are. And, what is this government playing at? They were supposed to have this trans guidance in place before the schools broke up for the summer. Well, here we go. The schools have broke up, and surprise, surprise, it's not there. And as I said, I find that personally shameful, but what do you make to it all?